As a filmmaker, I have always sought out inspiration and knowledge from those who have come before me. I have followed auteurs that have consistently turned out masterpieces of cinema over their careers in order to glean knowledge of cinematic techniques and storytelling styles. But to me, of the directors working today, none have stood out more than Alfonso Cuaron. Alfonso Cuaron is the Mexican-born director and producer of visual masterpieces such as Roma, Gravity, and Children of Men. He has directed 8 feature films and won 5 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and 7 BAFTAs. Cuaron has directed a diverse field of films including franchise tentpoles like Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, CGI spectacles like Gravity, and intimate dramas like Roma. Each of these films is uniquely great in its own way, but today I don't want to focus on what makes these films unique. I want to focus on what makes them similar. Today, I'd like to examine the visual and story techniques and themes that are consistent across Alfonso Cuaron's filmography in an attempt to understand the guiding principles by which Cuaron approaches making a film. When most people talk about the visual style of Alfonso Cuaron, they usually refer to his use of long takes. Most recently, Cuaron demonstrated his prowess for oneers in the climactic scene on the beach in Roma. In the book The Filmmaker's Handbook, authors Edward Pincus and Stephen Asher write, "When the camera moves through space, the viewer experiences the most distinctly cinematic of motion picture shots. The moving camera is perhaps the most difficult and often most expensive shot in the cinematographer's vocabulary." Unlike the long takes of Steven Spielberg and other classical filmmakers, Alfonso Cuaron's long takes tend to draw attention to themselves. In films like Children of Men, the camera tends to wander around and shake as if it is the point of view of a character. In films like Gravity, the long wandering takes are accomplished through CGI and are much smoother and majestic than those in Children of Men. Cheryl O writes on Cuaron's use of oneers, "He is often seen experimenting with just how extreme he can utilize it to engage audiences." A Cuaron oneer differs greatly from the understated Spielberg oneer, which floats subtly and smoothly between 2 or 3 different compositions. Cuaron's oneers are flamboyant, they are tense, they are complicated. But how does Cuaron use his oneers in the context of his films? In many of his films, Cuaron uses oneers to capture sequences. In Gravity, the beginning oneer captures the introduction of characters and the inciting incident. There is not a single cut until Dr. Ryan Stone is disconnected from the space shuttle and sent hurtling into space. In Great Expectations, the 5-minute oneer captures a full 3-act sequence featuring Finn chasing Estella. In Children of Men, the biggest oneer in the film captures Theo and Key fleeing for refuge through an active war zone. It features the actors weaving in and out of several locations with hundreds of extras and special effects, all working in unison. But what is Cuaron's intention using long takes? Here is Cuaron talking about the way he approaches the long take and its effect on the film and the audience.
So much of your work, you capture moments in long takes, or at least presented as oneers, particularly in this movie, and this is an example. Tell me about that with that particular shot.
Well, the principle probably is the same, is in the thing in which you want to keep a unity of time and space and honor the notion of real time that you can do by cuts, and filmmakers do that beautifully. But also the thing of allowing the characters to flow in that space and to give as much weight to the character as to environment. So that's the reason of the long shots.
The effect of Cuaron's long take is perfectly summarized by Justin Morrow when he says, The cut is so crucial to the grammar of cinema, so ingrained in every viewer that its absence is a presence, pointing as it does to a temporal continuity, the illusion of action over time, i.e., a long take foregrounds a realism in the viewer's mind, no matter the arduous complexities and artifices in putting that take together. Immersion. This is the point of Alfonso Cuarón's long take, to psychologically place us in the world of his film and leave us there. Every project Cuarón takes on is personal. Therefore, the consistencies across the stories themselves should give us a glimpse into the way Cuarón sees the world. The most fascinating thing I found during this research project is that the themes across Alfonso Cuarón's films are remarkably similar. Almost all of his films, in some way, deal with themes of the world going wrong. Most often, this theme of worlds gone wrong materializes in the consistent theme of loss. To Alfonso Cuarón, loss and the world going wrong are realities of life. Cuarón has evolved greatly over time on how his films respond to this loss. In Y Tu Mama Tambien, the two main characters are dealing with the loss of their childhood. The woman who accompanies them has lost her husband and her future. In the film, Cuarón seems to suggest a rebellion and ignorance against loss. If you're going to die, if you're going to stop being a child, if you're going to lose what's most important to you, you might as well live it up while you still can. Live life to the fullest. However, and Cuarón understands this, simply living life to the fullest before you can't ultimately leaves you empty. The loss still comes. The loss still destroys. In Children of Men, women of the world are no longer able to have babies. The world has lost fertility. Theo has also lost something. He has lost his wife and his child. In Children of Men, Cuarón seems to suggest that there might be another option. There might be a way to reverse the loss. The characters fight. They fight against their fate. They fight for hope. They fight to get Key and the last baby on Earth to the Human Project so that somehow they might bring fertility back to the world. According to Children of Men, all is not lost. There is always hope for another way. In Gravity, the entire film is filled with loss. Everything is terrifyingly fragile and could be destroyed at any second. The protagonist, Dr. Ryan Stone, loses essentially everything important to her. Her mission, her daughter, her experienced fellow astronaut, and, gravity. In the film, loss is a devastating and destructive thing. What Cuarón says in Gravity is that loss is something that happens, and you don't have control over it. You don't have a say. But in the aftermath of loss, what are you going to do? Are you going to shrink back from the world? Or are you going to pick yourself up and keep going until you finish the mission and get home? In Roma, the theme of loss materializes in many ways, but it all centers around family. Early in the film, the marriage of the couple Cleo works for has gone bad. Throughout the film, the situation deteriorates and ends with the woman losing her husband and the children losing their father. Likewise, Cleo loses the support and presence of her boyfriend, who has impregnated her. Then, when it is time for Cleo to give birth, the baby is stillborn. Another loss for Cleo. But at the climax of the film, something very interesting and different happens. Two of the children wade too far into the ocean and are in grave danger of being washed out to sea and lost. But the children are not lost. Cleo saves them. Cuarón acknowledges in Roma that those we love are going to pass away. These circumstances are beyond our control. So what should we do if we can't avoid losing our loved ones? we cling to them. We hold on to them as long as we can. Alfonso Cuaron is an auteur in every sense of the word. His films are not only a demonstration of his technical and directorial prowess, but also of him as a person. He has infused styles and themes throughout his entire filmography that speak to how he sees the world. Because of this, all of us should study Cuaron's films in order to learn how to become better filmmakers and film watchers.